What an exciting journey, 25 years of internet history, of digital infrastructure history. Our history, dear friends, dear business partners, dear internet infrastructure family. A very warm welcome to all of you from the DE-CIX virtual arena in New York City. Welcome to the DE-CIX Interconnection Summit, North America 2020. I want to invite you to a great journey touching on a lot of topics we need to discuss about, important topics about our daily business and the future in our community. I'm the host. I want to present myself. Ivo Ivanov, CEO of DE-CIX International. It's my pleasure being host today. Before we jump further and start the discussions about the digital journey for our industry in the next years and what is the status first of today, I want to thank all of you being with us today, and especially I want to thank all those companies who supported us in creating this incredible show. Thanks to QTS, 1025 Connect, DartPoints, PacketFabric, and Seaborn. Please do not forget to follow us on social media using the hashtag DE-CIX Summit. And as promised, we will have a lot of topics to touch on, and discussing about topics need the discussion with people, experts, friends, business partners, stakeholders in this great industry. And we have invited a lot of them. Here is just a selection of people who will be my guests on stage today. From New York City, we will have Sean Bailey from QTS. There is Scott Willis from DartPoints, Hunter Newby representing 1025, Jasper Gilmer from PacketFabric, and Andy Bax from Seaborn, and many, many more. You will be surprised how many different people we will have with us on stage discussing together, we all together, about our industry and about digitalization around the globe. So before I invite my first guest to stage, let me share a very personal thought on the situation we're all in. What happened in this very challenging year? We had a very special moment, all of us, we still have it, where the physical lives, they literally globally went on pause. We all got locked. We got locked in our homes. They became our offices, became classrooms. They became the center of our daily life. And our most activities, disregarding if we talk about business or we talk about private life, they were fully transferred to the digital sphere. So everything became digital. When we got physically locked, we stayed digitally connected together. And this is a very big applause to you and to all of the people around the globe working to make digitalization better and to serve people around the globe. Now everybody understood how important digitalization is. And this crazy year, let me speak about this crazy year and the facts around this from a DE-CIX point of view, what we have experienced on our many different platforms around the globe, on 4 continents. We have collected a lot of data, and of course, as a lot of you guys have seen on your networks and with the applications you do provide, with the customers you have, a huge increase of traffic. Volumes over volumes. We at DE-CIX has experienced multiple increases on different platforms, but I think this is not a surprise. We are very proud of something different. We didn't have even a second of interruption, which makes me extremely happy about all of us. So this pandemic situation brought me personally to think about how should we deal with COVID-19, with the pandemic around the globe. What kind of situation does this mean for us as human beings and the industry we love, we work for? And I compare the current situation, the crisis we're still unfortunately all in, with different crises the civilization has experienced over the past, let's say, 100 years. And you see on the screen behind me a couple of examples, big crises. Thinking about these challenging times for the civilization, I thought about what do they have in common. And they have in common a very interesting fact that after all these crises has been finished and went over, the civilization has experienced a boost, a hope, a new hope, and acceleration of economic growth, innovation, and positive energy. And I believe this is what we will experience after the end of COVID-19. The faster, the sooner, the better. What would be after COVID-19 is over? We see the start, the begin of a new digital era with an entirely new understanding of a new interconnection model. And this is the industry we want to talk about you today. If you see all these applications behind me, they stay for our life already today. Is it about entertainment? Is it about how we collaborate, how we work together? Is it about how we move around, our logistics, our retail, our mobility in general, our health, e-health, how our kids do study, how they got taught, or how we stay in touch with friends and family? All this relies today on the digitalization everywhere. And this is exactly the chapter of this new phase of development, the new era of digital everywhere for everything and everyone. This leads me to the next thought I want to share with you. What would be the requirements for our industry? What we should focus even more on in the future, which will predict the trends in this new era? And I want to talk with you about the applications. The application lays the layer of usage of our infrastructure and the digital services in general. And you see here a couple of examples. Applications for business usage, applications like video conferencing, virtual desktops, cloud application, down the road to very, very sophisticated e-manufacturing and remote robotics applications. On the private side, we do have a lot of applications we all enjoy daily. It's about live sports streaming, online gaming, e-learning, e-health, mobility, the way our cars are equipped today with all digital gadgets. We know what does this mean. It means a lot of traffic, but even more, it means performance. Performance is needed. These applications are extremely hungry. They are hungry for performance. And in our industry, we all know, we call performance based on quality, and quality is based on milliseconds. The speed of light becomes extremely important. And we tried and we put into perspective all those applications to latency. And we can see, summarizing this, that actually the maximum latency as of today cannot be higher than 65 milliseconds. The more sophisticated the applications become, the lower the latency. Personally, I believe we will be very soon on average at 15 to 20 milliseconds for providing a great application performance. If we put this into the geographic perspective, we see that distance, of course, distance plays a role there. So that means that infrastructure serving these applications needs to be placed as close as possible to the people, to the users, down to even 50, 80 kilometers in a radius of the usage if we talk about 1 to 3 milliseconds. So bringing digital applications and content closer to people and business is the main mandate for our industry. This is the job for the next years, to provide this distribution, this level of proximity to users, disregarding if they use digital services in their homes or in their offices. It's for the experience we all want to enjoy. So how should we summarize this as a trend? And yes, the answer is Latency is the new currency. This is the currency for our industry. If we want to create the success which the users expect from our services, the satisfaction of internet and digital service experience, disregarding where these users are, on which continent they live, which applications they use, the foundation for user experience on the highest possible level is the proximity of digital infrastructure to the users. So we need to bring digital applications, content based on digital infrastructure as close as possible to where the users are. And if we talk, ladies and gentlemen and dear friends, about digital infrastructure, what do we have in mind? It's just a definition for the sake of clarity of today's show. We are all people, and a lot of people in the audience today know perfectly what I'm talking about, but just a definition is needed. We talk about the main elements of digital infrastructure, like data centers, of course, transport layer, the layer 1, the layer 0, even if we talk about fiber, if we talk about sea cables, etc. We talk about elements like 5G, the low Earth orbit technology, which becomes more and more attractive and enabled. We're talking about the last mile infrastructure, edge infrastructure, and of course, interconnection. And interconnection, dear friends, is the topic, the main topic of our show today. And I'm extremely proud to have my first guest on stage. I want to invite my dear colleague and well-known expert in the industry, my friend Christian Koch from Digital Realty. Christian, how are you doing?
I'm great, Ivo. It's good to see you. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and I hope everybody is healthy around you. And if I'm correct, you're in New York City, right? Right now.
I am.
How is the city doing?
The city is active and it's exciting, and you wouldn't even believe we're in a pandemic. But fingers crossed, things get better soon.
Oh yes, I do. We all love this city, and the better the situation become very soon, the more happier I will feel immediately. Thank you so much for this positive statement. And let's talk about interconnection. I know you have been working in this industry for so many years, and we're so excited having you on stage contributing to our Interconnection Virtual Summit from New York City. So my first question is, from your point of view, how do you see interconnection in the United States as of today? What is the status? How would you describe, how is interconnection done mainly in the United States today?
Yeah, look, I mean, thanks for the question, Ivo. And I think while a lot is changing with interconnection, mostly, things are done pretty much standard, as you would think. Networks connect through, a private network interconnect, a cross connect between networks, or an internet exchange, as you know very well, right? And or they connect through this new method, which is virtual connections that we're seeing kind of pick up over the last few years. So not much has changed, but we are in the middle of some pretty big changes, I think.
And let's talk about these changes, because this is what drives actually our industry and what will drive the business in the future. Let's see what is actually important to be changed, driven by market, driven by target groups, driven by customers, driven by the end users. What do you see as the main trend on the market which will influence our industry of data center operators, industry of internet exchanges, or interconnection in general?
Right. Well, look, there's too much, and there's so much to get into, but a few things that are going on, right? I mean, we are seeing larger interest in getting closer to the users, right? It's not just about that select group or that small group of networks that have been peering and have been interconnecting on internet exchanges for, the last 20 years or so. We are seeing this new group, right? And we are seeing enterprises get involved. And I think a lot of this is because of cloud computing, right? That was the major catalyst. So now everybody is rushing to have this hybrid infrastructure, and they're getting these cloud on-ramps to connect privately to their clouds. And you know what? You have a platform like DE-CIX or like Digital Realty Service Exchange, and we do all of it. We can connect you to the cloud, but we can also introduce you to peering if you weren't introduced with it yet, right? So a lot of things are happening, and it's an exciting time.
Oh, absolutely. So you're talking about things I can confirm on and agree with. Extremely important next to distribution, and this is something I want to ask you about. How do you see the geographical aspect? Yes, service-wise, if I listen to you correctly, you're saying the diversification of service is extremely important, talking about cloud and different type of interconnection services within the marketplace, right? But what is about geography? How do you see the trend there if it comes to distribution?
Yeah, sure. So look, we have our major tier 1 cities, which some people like to call NFL cities in the US. And, they've always been popular, right? They've been the big interconnection hubs. I remember years ago at the Global Peering Forum, you and I got up on stage and did a talk about New York and the ecosystem here and digital hubs, right? Those aren't going to change. These are still going to be the big epicenters of edge markets, right? But we are seeing new markets going down into tier 2 cities become a little more popular. And it will take some time, but for the most part, we're seeing things distribute a little bit, and we're seeing, new ways to bring your application to the edge through edge computing that folks like Cloudflare and Akamai are getting into, which, realistically, they've been doing for 20 years themselves already, right? So it's just, a new set of buzzwords and, a new set of capabilities that we're bringing to, a new set of customers. But, new markets are becoming more popular, and, it's absolutely becoming more distributed than it was.
Yes, and I couldn't agree more. It's about, as we listen to you, it's about distribution, getting closer with the applications and the services to the edge, to the users, and at the same time creating a nice set of different interconnection options. Thank you so much for your contribution. I wish you all the best. Greetings to our great city of New York, and please stay healthy, and looking forward to meeting you in person very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ivo. Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. You're very welcome. And this is, dear friends, a great contribution to the trends on the US market, as we have listened to Christian from the data center point of view and the general expert industry point of view. Now we do have our next guest on stage, and I'm extremely happy to ask him as well about his view on what is the status of interconnection today in the United States or even beyond, and what would be the trends for the future. Extremely happy to welcome to the stage Vinay Kanikar, who is the CTO of Akamai. Vinay, from the Akamai's point of view, want to listen to you. What are the key trends and the key trends driving your business in the future?
Sure. So that's a very important question for all of us, because it's something that as a CDN we've constantly had to think about how we need to evolve. And what we saw is that not only did all of the existing applications become significantly more important than they had before to people's lives, because there was an immediate transition from things people did in the physical world that had to transition online very quickly. There was a lot more demand on all of the existing capabilities like video delivery, handling transactions securely, providing security services for operators and businesses. All of these things, of course, exploded quite a bit in the last 8 months. I think everybody has seen our traffic too grew dramatically. So in the last 8 months, we've seen more than a year and a half's worth of growth in usage, in transactions, in users that are online at the same time. And what's more is that we've seen many new use cases become mainstream as well. So with everybody working from home, enterprises have had to drastically change how their networks have been built, how people can access internally hosted applications, how they can be kept secure, how we can enable completely synchronous usage, because we went from mostly from homes, it was all one-way usage. People used to sit at home and consume content. Now from home, we are publishing videos of ourselves. Our kids are doing the same thing all the time. We have, one video session for each of us going sometimes, for me, my wife, for the kids. And so between all of us infrastructure companies and Akamai, we've had to adapt our platforms, our hardware and software, to now fit in with this new reality. And it's interesting what you mentioned earlier is that we went to becoming physically locked, and we were able to keep on working from homes and to continue to be productive. But when I think about just 10 years ago or 15 years ago, if we had a pandemic then, we wouldn't have had a very hard time actually being useful from home. So I think the fact that our infrastructure has reached this level has actually enabled us to weather the storm a little bit better than I think we would have 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. Crazy times, and we are at least kind of lucky having this digital infrastructure in place. Now, today is all about interconnection in the today's show. It's about interconnection because very important to reduce further the latency, increasing the performance. And I mentioned earlier today that latency has been the new currency for a while, and today this statement is valid even more. Every single millisecond counts. So what do you need, organization like Akamai? What is the highest need if it comes to internet exchanges? What can we do for you guys to support your demand for better performance, the lowest latency possible? So want to learn more about that.
Sure. And I mean, so you can really state it in one word: more. So what's happened with internet exchanges and interconnect in general has been fantastic for reducing latency across the internet and for improving performance. But what we need is for it to be getting much more diverse. So there are a few cities in the world that are the key interconnect locations today. So Ashburn, Frankfurt, Chicago. What we need is for this kind of interconnect infrastructure to be available in many more places, countries especially. So India, Brazil, Argentina. You think of all of these big countries where the interconnect infrastructure has so much more to do, so much of a long way to go, and that's going to make a big difference to the internet quality of service across the world. I mean, in the existing places, of course, I think we will continue to add capacity. Networks will continue to peer, and to keep that scaling at the rate at which the internet is growing, of course, is important. But more locations, I think, will address a whole different aspect of the problem that I think we haven't so far.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Vinay. Great experts with very important statements. Thank you for the contribution. And listening to both of them, I feel confirmed what we at DE-CIX believe in. There are two important elements which can make sure that the quality of digital infrastructure and the needs are covered. This is the geographical densification, and the second one is the service diversification. These two elements create the foundation. But what do they have in common? They need neutrality. Neutrality is the main element. Neutrality states for open access, neutrality states for freedom of choice, and it's the foundation for better accessibility, diversity, proximity, security, and performance. Let me touch now a bit more on the topic of the geographical densification. And about this topic, I want to invite to the stage a couple of well-known faces from the industry and great friends talking with you about geographical densification. What are the trends in terms of industry setups? What is the status today and what needs to be changed? Now, want to listen to them.
The interconnection landscape now can no longer be served by, the 8 to maybe 12 core interconnection sites in North America. The geography that it has to cover is too great, and it's all latency specific. So application and customer and latency specific to the application. So we're all sort of accustomed to carrier hotels and data centers in major markets and developed, data center regions. That concept needs to be incrementalized and physically distributed to fill those gaps.
The time is now for networks to be spreading out and ultimately getting closer to the end user as a result of that. And the benefits, of course, are resiliency. And if you understand resiliency the way it's currently designed, if you have, for example, a major ISP have a failure in Ashburn, the only other place to catch that network is in Atlanta or New York. It's too far away. There's not enough backhaul capacity. So the routing needs to spread out, first in the current metros that have dense routing, and then move on from there. But we're talking specifically about peering and routing. Core infrastructure needs to spread out.
Interconnection infrastructure services, when you think about where we are as an industry today, is clearly not built and deployed to support the demand of the future. If you really think about as an industry where we're in a fairly disruptive stage. If you buy into the fact that demand is pivoting and demand is pivoting in a significant way, it clearly recognizes that we've got to look at our architecture and we've got to think about how do we deploy it in a different way. And that's what interconnection services at the edge is all about. It's all about delivering interconnection services to those underserved markets where it doesn't exist today to meet the demands of our future needs of data distribution.
Narrowing that gap on service latency is critical in everything that we do now in terms of network design. We're not just focused on physical distances. We're actually looking more and more into how can we configure the network and provide that end-to-end service. It's no longer just about how quickly can I get on a cable or how quickly can I get from continent A to continent B. It's somewhat irrelevant. If you get from A to B really quickly, but then you've got to go through 14 different networks to get to the service you're using, the distance doesn't matter. It's service latency that's now important.
There's a lot more we can do to make the infrastructure better consumed, not just distributed. How are we solving the problems? Through a lot of different ways, such as education, such as adoption of new technologies, and more importantly, collaboration between the different partners that are part of this particular ecosystem.
If you think about how we're going to deploy edge architecture into those underserved communities, it has to be in a neutral environment.
Neutrality is paramount. Without it, the network neutral interconnection business doesn't exist. It doesn't work. So it's the foundation of success in the business.
Carrier neutral data centers are critically important because that's where the ability to reach hundreds and thousands of different networks and content providers is critical. So open and equal access is critically important to helping us develop this market.
Neutrality is extremely important for customers and end users specifically because you do not need the headache of trying to figure out the motivations of a supplier who is holding interconnect at their whim.
Optionality is crucial to our customers. Our customers want to have the ability to access more than one service provider at the location where they are, so they don't have to deploy into so many different places, and they can have access to different service providers for the different benefits and value propositions that they bring to the customer whenever and however the customer want to consume them.
Very important statements. Let me sum up. It's about the neutrality. It's about the neutral and open access to digital infrastructure, disregarding where this infrastructure is. And talking about geography, let me share with you what DE-CIX has achieved in terms of geography in the United States of America. We have built over the past couple of years 2 great ecosystems already. The one in New York, with, as of today, more than 260 networks connected to the platform from different destinations, with almost 1 terabit of traffic live on the platform. And the one in the south, DE-CIX Dallas, very fast growing, around 100 networks already connected with weekly increasing traffic. I don't want to share more numbers with you on this. Let me invite to stage now the man behind this, the Vice President of DE-CIX North America, Mr. Ed D'Agostino. Ed, tell us more, please, about this great achievement.
I attribute the success of DE-CIX North America to the DE-CIX business model. With our focus on running exchanges, our neutrality, and our ability to invest in the markets, we have a unique business plan that hasn't been around in the US, at least since the time of PAX, the Palo Alto Internet Exchange. Look at New York. We have 16 switches in New York, a number of which serve multiple data centers. That's an unprecedented amount of coverage in a market. There's nothing like it. It's allowed us to, in short order, 6.5 years, to develop approximately 250 ASNs. That puts us number 4 in the North American continent. Think about it, so many who have been around 20, 25 years or more aren't near that size. It's really an amazing achievement. The same holds true in Dallas. Dallas, we went into Dallas, there's 1 exchange in 1 data center operator. Now, our exchange appears throughout the Dallas market. Dallas has many major data center operators. A number of them have multiple data centers. We've dramatically changed the Dallas market. Also, we've added our transport partner program. Our transport partners interconnect with us and allow turnkey peering on DE-CIX exchanges for those who are not in the market area throughout the region. They don't have to take colo. It's turnkey. It's much lower cost. So with our partners, our transport partners, we've essentially serving the region, not just the local market better. All of this has been, again, our business plan with our neutrality, major focus on our partners has allowed this to occur. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed, for this great contribution, and I'm looking forward to developing more success and more healthy ecosystems with you. Great job so far. And talking about these 2 markets, New York and Dallas, these are 2 markets on our map, but they are also important for the industry. I know this. Therefore, I want to listen now to our friends and experts from the industry, how they look at New York and Dallas. What is the importance for you guys on these 2 markets?
New York is critical for us in terms of interconnectivity between the 2 continents, between the Americas as a whole, not just North America, but South America too, and Europe, and to be honest, Asia too. It's long time been a main interconnection hub, but as we see more and more services now distributed across the globe, New York becomes really much more critical to us in terms of delivering those services effectively and efficiently across our network and to our end users. And our users down in, for example, in Brazil, they're becoming much more sophisticated now in terms of wanting direct connectivity where possible to content and applications, not just in the US, but across the globe. So New York plays a pivotal part in that, in being a real interconnection hub between many different continents.
The vision that I had about bringing the subsea interconnection out of Manhattan due to all the risks associated with the bridges, the tunnels, the manholes, and now we have viruses and riots, and we've had terrorist attacks, we've had a major hurricane and flooding. So there's a lot of reason to physically distribute, and that's what 1025 Connect and NJFX have done. That's their purpose, their existence being basically neutral interconnection points for the subsea for global networks, European and Latin American.
We have the ability to take the customer and take their traffic from wherever they are to DE-CIX, whether it's in New York or in Dallas. We have customers reaching New York, and in fact, many of them use DE-CIX as an alternative or optionality, as we talked about earlier, to Ashburn, which many considers the interconnection capital of North America. But so much traffic are now migrating to New York as well because of both the ability for the interconnection that DE-CIX had created, but also the subsea cables that's coming into New York.
In that area, what you'll find is financial institutions, for example, are a major player and a major buyer of the services that we sell. And they need low latency access to trading exchanges and to international partners. And they're looking for a supplier that's got a density of on-net carriers that offer, call it unique and low latency fiber routes, which we have. Dallas is extremely important. If you look at it just first of all, geographically, it's in the middle of the southern part of the country. It's different from New York in that it's a newer interconnect market. New York's been there since the beginning. And it doesn't have the subsea. Yeah, it's too far inland, of course, for a lot of subsea action. But nevertheless, for domestic interconnect, it's a major interconnect point in the middle of this country.
Here's a point that's critical that I want to make, right? The infrastructure and the architecture as it exists today is not going away, right? In fact, it's going to be enhanced. Additional capacity, additional investment is going to be deployed, right? But when we talk about edge, when we talk about the need to deliver interconnection services to those underserved communities, that's going to be an extension of our architecture today. It's all about delivering a high-performing, low-cost solution and a robust interconnection marketplace within those underserved communities today.
Dallas and New York, two very important markets for the interconnection industry in the United States and beyond. We have listened to the reasons, and we have listened also to exciting projects we will enjoy in the future. And if we talk about geography, we need more infrastructure around the country, and there wouldn't be a proper DE-CIX Interconnection Summit without breaking news. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, live from the virtual DE-CIX Arena in New York City, let me present to you our breaking news for today. Welcome, Chicago. More geography? This is our answer. I'm extremely proud to announce today that DE-CIX decided to open its third platform market in the United States of America in the beautiful and very successful city of Chicago. Welcome, DE-CIX Chicago. And it's about more geography. So one-time breaking news is not enough. Let's have breaking news a second time. And surprise, surprise, it's still about geography. So what's the next destination? Welcome, DE-CIX Richmond, and this is the second announcement in terms of new market for DE-CIX in the United States. So you see a lot of hopefully positive news for all of you in the industry. We want to invite you to participate in our approach in Richmond. Welcome, DE-CIX Richmond. And DE-CIX Richmond is a special approach. This is our answer for interconnection infrastructure deployments in a smaller market, smaller than New York, smaller than Dallas and Chicago, of course, but a very important, let's call it today, tier 3 market, which will grow over time, and market which deserves infrastructure to serve not the telecommunications and network industry as of today, but more also enterprises and other businesses. And Richmond is special for us for a second reason. In Richmond, we decided to create a great collaboration with the local community exchange, which is the Richmond, Virginia AX, and it's my honor and pleasure to invite to stage one of the founders of this exchange. DE-CIX will collaborate with Scott Brown from RVIX. Scott, I'm very happy to have you on stage and listen to what you think about this great common new approach.
Thank you for the introduction. With the subsea cables coming together, with the dark fiber coming into Richmond, and QTS and Edge Connects and Pixel Factories, all the data centers joining together for this common ecosystem, it's going to grow the connectivity to tier 2 market that has never seen an acceleration like this before. The content's going to get closer to the end customer, which has always been our goal, is to drive that content closer and allow a better customer experience. And with the platform, the DE-CIX platform, it's just going to accelerate it and allow North Carolina, South Carolina, they've always been kind of barren for content exchange connectivity. And this is going to be such a huge driver to bring that content to the south of us. And it's fantastic. Majority of our traffic flowed north. Now it's going to be centralized. Also lower latency to Europe and South America. So this is going to bring that ecosystem the extra legs in connectivity and making the Richmond area a global connected area. And right now, what we've seen is in years past, content and connectivity was centralized in tier 1 markets. We're now seeing tier 2 markets develop massive amounts of connectivity and localized content, and Richmond is on the forefront of that right now. And no other place in the country have I seen connectivity grow in such a tier 2 market so fast with the addition of the ecosystem with the DE-CIX platform.
Scott, thank you so much for your great contribution so far, and we do look forward to make DE-CIX Richmond together a great success and serving better the community in this part of the country. With Chicago and Richmond added to the DE-CIX operations in North America, we do have 4 markets, and these 4 markets are interconnected. The interconnection means that with this, we have created the foundation for the largest carrier and data center neutral interconnection ecosystem in North America. Extremely exciting because in terms of geography, and taking the requirement of 15 milliseconds for all these very important applications in the future, we can present a great coverage in terms of geography within 15 milliseconds or 750 miles a radius of reach, which serves already millions of people in North America. And this neutral interconnection ecosystem consists already of hundreds of networks connected to it, with a lot of different access points and different services, of course, on this secure platform. But this is not where it ends. If we think about further, we will discover that there is already an interconnection between the DE-CIX North American network and the global DE-CIX ecosystem. And this all together, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, creates the largest neutral data center and carrier neutral interconnection ecosystem on the planet, with thousands of networks connected, served around the globe, and with multiple hundreds of access points where different type of networks can very easy and fast connect to. Now let me make a step back to the United States from the global picture back. And we all know that for markets, even interconnected with the great rich, they do not do the trick for the future where we need the best coverage in terms of geography as possible. And as of today, we do already have a lot of different access points. You see behind me a lot of yellow dots. All these single dots, they stay for different sites and locations across the country, enabled through partners of DE-CIX. Example is the great collaboration DE-CIX has with PacketFabric. And even this is not enough for the future. Therefore, another breaking news. I'm extremely proud and excited to present the start of the DE-CIX as a service program for North America. From today, this program is available to all data center operators and others, stakeholders in North America to be used. I invite you to be part of it. DE-CIX has started operations of interconnection platform for third party as managed service years back. We have created enormous success with this program in the Middle East, Europe, and Africa already. From today on, available for the United States. DE-CIX as a service consists of the entire stack of different elements needed for the creation of a successful interconnection ecosystem. It's hardware, it's software, processes, marketing, business development, all together needed to support data center operators and others to create their own interconnection story. And the platform is extremely scalable. The DE-CIX Apollon availability zones, they can be easily upgraded, seamless and very fast to almost unlimited connected capacity. So the benefit for a data center operator or another one who want to create an own interconnection story is an entirely turnkey solution provided by DE-CIX and based on our 25 years experience on the creation of healthy interconnection ecosystem. I want to invite you to be part of it. If you want to learn more, please visit our website or approach us directly. Thank you so much and looking forward to cover every single corner of this great country with a proper interconnection ecosystem. Bringing services to every single corner of the country means bringing services closer to people and closer to business. Let's talk about business now. And remember at the beginning, we discussed that there are two main elements if it comes to increasing the proximity of services. We have the geography element, bringing the infrastructure as close as possible to the users and the businesses in terms of territory. And we talked about the service diversification as the second important element. Let's focus on services now. What are the trends there? What are the needs? Let's listen to the voice of the industry again.
I think the sector that's growing at the moment the most, that's obvious, are these video conferencing calls that we're all doing. I also see gaming growing tremendously, both Epic with Fortnite and even Roblox. And there's some things happening inside of these worlds referred to as metaverses that's transformational. There was a concert essentially that just happened inside of Roblox, and there were 33 million views of it, which if you try to imagine the size of an arena, imagine how big it would have to be to hold 33 million people. So what can be done in the metaverse can't be done in the physical world. So I see that space growing very fast, and network infrastructure is essential for that.
The trend we see now is one towards public organizations, schools, education facilities, healthcare, research institutes, where, again, with a view to the service applications they use day in, day out, and that are fundamental to their businesses, they are looking to establish their own connection points now. They're no longer, placing all of their telecommunication needs in the hands of a third-party, traditional telco carrier. They're looking to be much more sophisticated, adapting the same model where they're taking more ownership and control of their own telecommunications destiny by managing their networks themselves, negotiating their own connections and their own interconnections across different networks. We've seen it with others in the past, and it's a logical transition for these organizations now to take more control of their own destiny.
What I've also noticed is the sophistication in their knowledge of interconnection and exactly what networks they want access to, and where those networks reside, and their desire to have in-building access to those networks, or to an exchange that's in building that can hand off those networks fairly quickly. And so I had a recent discussion with a large financial institution, and over half of that discussion was internet architecture. You see this rise in sophistication of network knowledge and a desire to see the networks develop and expand in terms of interconnect option locations.
Today, the driver to the edge is really all about performance, and it's all about economics, right? It's delivering a high-performing solution at an attractive price point. But once you've deployed that capability, once you've introduced that ecosystem, once you've introduced that robust interconnection services where cloud and content providers can come and participate, that's really where the excitement begins. Whether you're an enterprise, whether you're a higher ed institution, whether you're a local community that is interested in smart city applications and economic development. That's really where the innovation and the use cases and the business models are really going to evolve.
There's some focuses: the media and entertainment industry, the automotive industry, healthcare and research, biotech, as well as education. Think about how our lives have been changed with this pandemic. All the healthcare service providers need to be able to move data from one place to another to accommodate your behavior, your pattern, as well as having to come to research results by collaborating, because our power in the 21st century is going to be our ability to collaborate with each other and work among an open ecosystem to find the best result for our race, rather than just having a walled garden and trying to see what, as an individual can contribute to the world.
Enlightening insights and very important trends. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, guys. Important trends which will dictate the creation of new services and innovation in our industry in the future. Trends like elastic cloud connectivity everywhere, huge needs for digitalization in the e-health and educational sector, the demand of enterprises for better control on their connectivity and traffic patterns, and of course, security. Security is everywhere. What is the DE-CIX answer to this? What DE-CIX plans to contribute and has created already? We believe that there are two main building blocks if it comes to support enterprises with better services for their interconnection strategy. The one element is the digitalization of the enterprise process itself, and the other one is digitalization of end customer products, services, and experience. And at our end, we do have two blocks for solutions. The one is related to the cloud connectivity, and the other one is related to create features for enterprises so they can create even their own interconnection ecosystem, more customized and closely related to their business case. Let's start with the cloud one. If we look at the cloud landscape today, we do all know how many different stakeholders are involved in. Those are the enterprises, of course, ISPs, transport providers, carriers, data centers, of course, and the cloud service providers, the hyperscalers. All these stakeholders are interconnected, and this needs to scale further. If we imagine by the growth in this sector, what can happen if the outdated approach of bilateral interconnections will grow further, this will lead to extremely high complexity. And the DE-CIX approach here is to reduce this complexity using the good old logic of direct and secure interconnection, reducing the complexity by aggregation, one to many. This is the approach behind the DE-CIX Direct Cloud, the DE-CIX Cloud Exchange, or cloud peering for all stakeholders involved in. Based on the direct interconnect into multiple different cloud service providers present on the DE-CIX platforms worldwide, more than 50 as of today, and driven by one access with multiple different sources for cloud connectivity available on all DE-CIX platforms, either directly used by enterprise or through our data center and ISP and transport providers. This is one example for supporting enterprises on their need for cloud connectivity. Another one is how we want to support enterprises with increasing their experience on performance with the applications they have in usage. And we all know that worldwide, the usage of Microsoft 365 applications is extremely important and relevant. DE-CIX is happy and proud of the collaboration with Microsoft worldwide for providing a direct layer 2 connection to Microsoft 365 on all DE-CIX platforms worldwide. This creates a higher performance, is extremely secure, using an updated and very innovative quality telemetric, which results at the end into a significant increase in end customer experience. Now let me talk about the second building block, which is kind of a forecast for the future, the block of enabling enterprises to create their own interconnection ecosystems. Extremely elastic and flexible solutions which are customized for their business model and their value chain. How to satisfy these needs in the future? What services exactly are needed? What kind of concepts need to be created? This is what we want to talk about now. The best way to answer this is to listen to the enterprises. For my next guest, every single millisecond counts. I'm happy to have on stage with us Jason Black, the Director of Network Development at Subspace.
Thanks for having me here today. I'd like to start off with that. And as it relates to subspace and latency, one of the things that I'll start off with is that Waze, the application that most people use or many people use on their phone, is similar to what we're trying to do in the internet space for gaming, which is getting the eyeballs or the individual gamers to the cloud as quickly as possible. So that might not mean taking that 65-mile-an-hour lane. You might have to take a back road to get there, but it may be a lower latent path. So what we're trying to do is not rebuild the internet, but build a more efficient pathway to get there. So utilizing DE-CIX and and other interconnection availability is what will help us to get there. Because working with the ISPs, working with the tier 1 carriers, and having that common place to be able to aggregate users, so to speak, and drive that pathway is what will get us better response for user engagement time and time again. Because users that see higher latency will turn off the game and go somewhere else to another another gaming company, or just not play at all. And we don't want that. We want eyeballs engaged all the time. And with people being home right now, there's certainly the availability for people to be playing when they're not working, of course.
what are the main blockbusters driving the traffic on your network globally as of today?
Oh, well, without giving away who our companies are that utilize our network, but you can imagine they are the top gaming companies in the world. They are utilizing our network as a kind of behind the scenes to the eyeballs. Like the eyeballs don't know that our network is being used, but we work very closely with the game developers to ensure that when they're doing route selection from their servers, it is utilizing the subspace path. And without getting into the intellectual property behind the scenes, it's not just the lowest latency path that does, that's our bread and butter. It's what we have under the hood within our stack. So we're doing a lot of cool things with a lot of very talented individuals to ensure that the users are getting the best experience possible every time they engage within a game. So that's probably our biggest blockbuster right now, is just getting that experience to be end-to-end flawless. So being in densely populated areas where the gamers are going to be centrally focused, or being an on-ramp to the cloud, that's key to success. And we're obviously going to have remote players, but we want to make sure that no matter how remote they are, getting to those co-locations as quickly as possible is available and easy for us to map out. And the further out you go into these less densely populated areas, the harder it's going to be, or at least the less available it's going to be to provide multiple carriers to get us the pathways that we need to get to you. So there's a lot at stake there. I mean, we didn't even touch on the hardware aspect, and that also plays into this as well.
Yeah. Gaming is everywhere, as we heard, and deserves the best quality possible. Now, let us listen to another guests we have on stage, guests representing the sectors of traveling and mobility in general. Very important for business and our private life. I'm very happy to have more representatives on stage from organizations operating worldwide. Let's listen to their opinion on what is needed in the future if it comes to digital infrastructure supporting their vision of digitalization everywhere.
Well, I think one of the biggest trends in the travel and transportation space right now, and in hospitality, is really putting more control in the hands of the guests, really enabling a deeper and richer digital experience through the app that basically allows the guest or the traveler to control their experience from the time they start dreaming about a trip, through the shopping and booking experience, the pre-arrival, the on-property, and even departure and beyond. So it's really trying to capture that entire ecosystem. And I think the other thing that has really been driving greater thoughts during this pandemic is all about how do you drive more contactless experiences, which is a native digital experience, just is a great way to develop and deploy those digital experiences to the customers. We develop and deliver these great apps and this great online digital experience. But most customers don't understand everything that it takes to deliver that, especially when you have an ecosystem like Hilton's, where we have over 6,200 properties in 150 some countries around the world. We have people traveling between our properties every day. Everything has to work. Guests and any customer, they view the experience they have on their app much like utility, much like electricity and water. It has to work when it's there. And we have seen time and time again across going through years. You mentioned undersea cables. We had issues where maybe connectivity into a certain country is cut for some reason, and that completely disrupts the experience. So what we're looking to as part of this digital experience is really driving greater resiliency. How are we able to piece together a network of providers, not just our cloud infrastructure providers, but also network providers? How are we able to blend the best of both wireless and wireline? where appropriate, to bring all those capabilities together. Again, so it's all about resilience, it's about performance. One part of the digital experience in a global company is how are you able to localize and get the content and the applications as close to the edge as possible. Rather than having a model where everything comes back to one data center, be it in the United States or somewhere in Western Europe, how are you able to more effectively distribute your content and your core application functionality multiple places around the world and out to the edge? You know, within Hilton, we've been doing this a lot as we've been driving our cloud journey. We're getting away from that one data center, leveraging a network of cloud providers and network providers to build instances in Western Europe, build instances in China, where we can get that experience as close to the customer and as close to our hotels as possible. That's absolutely critical. Right now with Hilton, you can use your cell phone. You can go online. You can search for your room. You can book it. And then 24 hours before you arrive on property, you can, and wherever you are in the world, you can go into our app. You can complete a digital check-in. As part of that, you can look at the room maps of the hotel. You can select your room. And then while you're in flight, the property, that they'll go ahead and take a look at that. And when your room's ready, they will push you a digital key. Your digital key is downloaded to your device. You walk right up to the, you walk right from, you know, your car, from your taxi, you go right to your room, you open the door with your phone. And then once you're in the phone, you can even enjoy our connected room experience, which we now have deployed in over 200 properties. And with that, it is an immersive experience where you can control the guest entertainment through the Honors app on your phone. In some properties where we've already deployed the HVAC controls, you can control the heating and air conditioning. And then when it's time to leave, you can go ahead and just complete your checkout online and walk out. And that is, again, a phenomenal experience, and our customers love that. It's a great experience, and again, enables that full end-to-end digital customer journey for you.
You know, digitalization is absolutely essential, right? Any one of these operational aspects of how our business runs in cities, which is really what we're about. We're about serving kind of our business, our businesses, our individual business owners, whether you're a restaurateur, whether you're a freight forwarder, whether you're a small business owner wanting to make additional funds out of your car. Those needs require a robust infrastructure that can expand to cover not only the unique market differentiations, but the reality of consumers. If the app wasn't working, you know, in the market, if it's using that same story in Paris, there wasn't competitors when we built this. There are competitors now. And so when we start thinking about the needs of infrastructure, that robustness needs to be in place because of this. You want that stickiness factor of engagement, but more important, if it's not working, people don't come back. And so fundamentally, when we think about that mobility connectivity story, it's essential for us to track everything from how the phone itself is performing, if you think about carriers and carrier relationships at the mobile side, all the way through to how are the restaurants receiving those orders? Well, we manage that connectivity all the way through that life cycle. We're always looking at, you know, how to think about our infrastructure beyond what is available today. And we really have tried to create a best in breed, right? You know, hybrid cloud environments require that in some markets you're driving the connectivity, in some markets you're accepting connectivity, and having a robust network that kind of supports both use cases, right? If I'm being honest, where could we be? I think, you know, the edge story. I know this is like a super, I don't know. I mean, it's such a buzzword kind of concept, but that edge narrative is, you know, a huge component of this. IoT drives a lot of that edge and edge traffic. 5G is going to drive, you know, completely different behaviors on that interconnection side. But when I start thinking about the latency, congestion, et cetera, there's a robust need from carriers to interconnection plays to software plays to really make sure that there's enough, not only like logical space. I mean, in some markets, there's a concern about actual bandwidth throughput, right? But I think fundamentally also making sure that you have the right kinds of services, because again, you're not making, if anything, the cloud movement has taught companies you don't have to wait a year to go into a market and build out the infrastructure, go, make all the carrier relationships, go connect.
Yep.
You're going to go into the market fast, leveraging cloud or other kinds of services. You're going to prove out the market. And then you're going to fundamentally want to capture and really bring the efficiencies in. I want services that are already pre-built, and I'm going to take advantage of those services, potentially with lower commit levels, lower size. I want to explore the market, and I want to be able to do it in a kind of not consistent way, but from a quality perspective, right? And I think those challenges for companies like yourself or carriers means that you're going to have to think about it as not just a layer 2 story. It's not just about ports and ports connectivity. It's about how do you do this in a kind of guaranteed quality of service? How do you do this in a manner that's consistent? How do you do this in a way that is at a lower threshold so that people can really explore and actually build in those markets without making long-term strategy commitments?
Mobility services will definitely play a very important role if it comes to interconnection services as a driver for the needs of enterprises in this industry sector. And we at DE-CIX, we have asked ourselves what kind of services exactly will be needed to meet this demand. And we picked up an industry sector which is extremely important because it's innovative and already so much into digitalization, the industry sector of the automotive industry. And we created a use case around this, talking to a lot of experts, a lot of analysts, but even more important, to the automotive companies themselves, and learning from them what is needed to be done to meet their demand for future services. So we asked them what kind of data it's related to the connected car. Let's see the connected car as an ecosystem already of different type of data. And if you look at the alternatives, we see they are almost unlimited. Data types which are needed to be incorporated into the car, data which is produced by the car, and we see how many different types can be used, and for entertainment, for security, for improving the traffic management, etc., etc. So plenty of options. So as a next, we asked what is the general nature of the data if it comes to the connected car or interconnected car. And the answer is that the total volume of data, which is huge, can be actually divided into two main types: data in the car and data outside the car or leaving the car. The data in the car, those 70%, is data which stays in the car and can be offloaded at night time or in a quiet minute or a quiet hour in a garage. But the other 30% are extremely important. They are important because they're extremely latency sensitive. This is data related to the communication between cars, so car-to-car data. This is data car to cloud, and this is data car to environment, which means car to different sensors and different signs on the street, etc. So these 30% are extremely important if it comes to security and performance. They are extremely important for interconnection services between the different cars and between the network of the car manufacturer and the networks of all these other data suppliers and receivers. So we asked ourselves and asked the industry representatives, how do you do this today? What is the I would say, the conventional approach. And the conventional approach has something in common. It's an MPLS network, usage of IP transit, and a multi-cloud solution. They all lead to the result of a best effort. This is the best effort solution. This is what the conventional approach has in common. And the result of the best effort is that there is no control, end-to-end control of the traffic flow. The traffic flow between the car and the network which want to deliver the data or receive the data. So let's think what this does create, and it creates challenges. So the majority of the industry representatives, they describe these challenges as performance challenges, because the more intermediates you have between the two networks who want to talk to each other, the network of the car and the network which delivers data into the car or receives data out of the car, the worse the performance is, the higher the latency is. This creates also security issues related to DDoS attacks, IP hijacking, etc., as well as compliance. Because if you do not control the value chain, you cannot control compliance. And there is a lot of compliance requirements today. There are a lot of requirements today related to regulatory, related to legal, related to even the company-owned compliance requirements if it comes to intellectual property and business secrets, protecting their business secrets. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen and dear friends, if you think again about the hundreds and probably thousands of organizations who want to deliver data into the car and receive data created by the car, by the hundreds and thousands of sensors, we will have a big complexity issue. And I want to illustrate this just using examples, only 28 in this case. If a car company wants to interconnect with even 28, and in the reality, there will be hundreds and thousands different organizations who want to deliver data into the car and use data produced by the car, we will end up into 1,000 bilateral interconnections and relationships nobody actually can efficiently manage. And this is a nightmare for every single engineer. So we thought how this can be solved. And it can be solved. It can be solved using existing logic, the logic of interconnection as we have it in our ecosystems. The interconnection in a direct way between the two parties directly, using the very efficient principle of one-to-many, aggregating the traffic instead of multiple bilaterals. And look, the magic is there. The complexity disappears. We see one clean environment where the car network can interconnect with all participants who want to deliver data into the car and receive data out of the car in one protected and very efficient environment. And ladies and gentlemen, dear friends in front of the screens, this is the fundament and the logic behind the concept of DE-CIX I want to introduce to you today. It's my pleasure to introduce the DE-CIX Enterprise Interconnection Federation as our answer to the world of services an enterprise will need for the future of their performance needs, the needs of their businesses, and the needs of the services they want to deliver to their customers. This solution provides an answer to how, in a closed environment, an enterprise network, in this case the car network, can interconnect with other networks, meeting the complexity, reducing the complexity, meaning the complexity issue, reducing it, increasing the security, improving the performance, and creating a manageable compliance. In these environments, all these issues can be solved because the environment is protected. And believe me, every single legal department in a big organization will be happy to manage 50 ecosystems like this instead of 50,000 bilateral contracts. This is what it counts at the end. So how these small, very, very efficient, private and secure virtual ecosystems can be placed? there is a natural place for this. There are existing ecosystems. Let's take as example the ecosystems of DE-CIX. We have, as of today, as I mentioned in the beginning, already 2,100 connected networks across the globe. And those networks are already, some of them, networks who do serve the finance industry, the automotive industry, the healthcare industry. They participate in these value chains already. So placing those protected new ecosystems related to different stakeholders in the industries is a very natural environment to have them within those ecosystems, but in a more protected way. So look, there are closed user groups, how we call them, owned by one enterprise dictating their policy they need to meet with in terms of security, performance, compliance, etc. So it's everything protected and at the same time very efficiently interconnected using the advantages of existing ecosystems. And if a couple of organizations decide to create a common policy because they have common needs and they have common regulatory probably requirements, they can decide to create a common policy and bring this together into a federation by sector like automotive, finance, healthcare, etc., etc. Ladies and gentlemen, the DE-CIX Enterprise Interconnection Federation is our concept we want to offer to the industry world, meeting their demand for accelerated digitalization, demand for services resulting of the digital transformation everywhere, for every single type of business. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to put together the key takeaways, the key messages of our show today. Digitalization is everywhere around the globe, and we need to bring infrastructure as close as possible to the users because latency is the new currency, the foundation for performance on all exciting applications in our business and private life. The interconnection infrastructure need to be entirely neutral and very well distributed. Enterprises are so much into digitalization, the processes of digital transformation have been accelerated dramatically by the pandemic crisis. So there are a lot of answers and a lot of services needed to cover the demand of enterprises for digital infrastructure services in the future. One answer is the DE-CIX concept of the DE-CIX Enterprise Interconnection Federation. Let me thank now to all our supporters, the sponsors who allowed us to make this happen today, the beautiful DE-CIX Virtual Arena from New York City. I enjoyed a lot. And thank you guys from QTS, 1025, Connect, DartPoints, PacketFabric, and Seaborn for your support. I want to thank all the experts, all the friends from the industry who participated with me on stage, delivering a lot of visionary, enlightening thoughts to the discussion. And I hope everybody was able to learn and now think more about what is needed in the future to make our industry more successful. Last but not least, I want to thank you all in front of the screens for your attention, for being with us, and the holiday season is ahead of us. Let us celebrate together at the end of an extremely challenging year for all people around the globe. Friendship, communication, family, health, and life. I want to wish you all the best. Thank you again for participating. Stay tuned, stay connected, and please do not forget that the community, the industry, and the internet, they wouldn't be that great without all of you. Thank you.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Grazie mille.
Bedankt.
Liels paldies!
Kiitos.
Hvala.
Спасибо большое.
Хейли мамни.
Teşekkür ederiz. Danke.
Tanavad.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.